think it's like 4 o'clock. I'm knackered, mate. I was on the night shift last night, so I've had no sleep. I want to get back into it because the next book that we're doing of Kathy Cassidy's is Gingersnaps. Oh, look how pretty it is. Oh, this was like my ultimate favourite of all of them. A lot of it had to do with the boy in it. Like his name is Sam Taylor. It doesn't say it on the back, but for some reason I feel like I know this. I feel like the message is about like being like true to yourself, even if that means being a little different and getting a little bit of slack for it, which is, you know, one of the best messages to have in a book. I'm gonna get to reading this, to be honest. And yeah, I'll tell you when I know a bit more. There. Oh my god, why do I always stretch right as I start? Some demon possesses me. Anyway. I realised last night that I've got like halfway through Gingersnaps and I've not told you anything about it. Oh, a girl called Ginger who used to get bullied quite badly in primary school. It can have a really lasting effects on a person, and it definitely has a lasting effect on Ginger because she uses the opportunity of going to high school to completely reinvent herself. You know, she loses her puppy fat, she starts dressing in more fashionable clothes, and stops being kind of like a bit nerdy and geeky and starts trying to be cool. Right, and she gets noticed for this by this girl who she thinks is really, really cool called Shannon, and the two of them have been friends ever since. So it's now year 8, and she's just trying to continue to fit in and be this new person who she's pretending to be, but the sort of old friend that she used to have, like a girl who she went to primary school with who was quite kind to her, but who always had her own best friend. That best friend moves away, and she ends up being left on her own. And Ginger notices that she's very lonely and she's very sad. And so she says to Shannon, oh, we should help her. And Shannon kind of gets it into her head that they're going to do this Pygmalion thing with this girl, right? They're going to take this geeky girl who formerly hung out in just this twosome with another geeky girl, and they're going to make her cool like them, right? There's precedent that Shannon's not this very nice girl. She hasn't got a lot of consideration for other people's feelings. And that does include Ginger, as long as Ginger keeps up this persona of this perfect, cool best friend. Shannon doesn't really care how Ginger's feeling on the inside. The introduction of this person from Ginger's past has really kind of kickstarted all this like introspection about, well, I might be cool now and I might not be being bullied now, but am I a good person? Because there is a new boy at the school called Sam Taylor who we love despite the fact that he was a trilby, and they've got a bad reputation since this book came out. At the time, it was very cool to wear a trilby, and you know, it was one of the most attractive things about him, as well as the fact that he plays the saxophone, which is still sexy. Not on the 12-year-old, but in general. Sam Taylor is weird, and he's very much not afraid to be himself. Ginger really likes him, and he really likes Ginger, and this would be great if she didn't think that Shannon would disapprove. He's kind of getting bullied by the boys in the class a little bit, and she doesn't, you know, stand up and say leave him alone. This new girl, this Emily, who they've become friends with, she turns around and says, well, you know how that feels. So I don't understand how you can sit there and let it happen in front of you and not say anything. The whole book is just Ginger kind of having an identity crisis. I can see why this was one of my favourite. Ginger's quite a relatable character in the way that she tries to reinvent herself and like change and become a different person in order to gain the approval of the people around her. We do these types of things. It is hard to kind of keep track of being a good and genuine person because you're concentrating so hard on keeping up the rest of the image that, you know, you just forget about being human sometimes. Another thing that I used to love about this book is that there's this like little motif throughout where Ginger keeps seeing this fox, and I'm unsure at the minute what the significance of the fox is, like what the fox kind of represents. So far there's just kind of a comparison in the fact that Ginger obviously has ginger hair, and, you know, because her name's Ginger, she's been bullied for this her entire life, and she hates her ginger hair. Foxes, you know, naturally ginger, naturally gorgeous creatures. The fox is kind of, so far, just this symbol of, like, things can be beautiful naturally, and Ginger needs to learn this about herself. Like, by being herself, she can be the best person. Foxes don't exactly fit in like this city life that we've got going on here, but they do on the regs. You see them in Tesco car park up there all the time. Evening. It's been a hot minute. You can tell because I've had my nails done. It's been a while since I've read Gingersnaps, but I've just come home tonight. My dad had to come and get me because my tyre blew out on my bike. It was absolutely disgraceful. So I've got back quite late today. I'm gonna jump in the bath and I thought, do you know what? I'm really in the mood to read. So I've got a little bit more of it done. And as you can see, I'm nearly finished. I thought I should probably update you on what's been going on a little bit. So Shannon, Ginger's friend, has turned out to be a total bitch. Who would have guessed? She's kind of been pitting Ginger and this new girl, Emily, against each other. Like, at first she just kind of assured Ginger that Emily wasn't going to butt in on their friendship, and obviously the two of them would always be best friends, no matter how she feels about Emily. But as Ginger kind of gets more insecure and like needs that reassurance from Shannon that, you know, they're not drifting apart from each other, Shannon just pushes Ginger away more and more and like tries to say that like Emily's more fun, Ginger needs to lighten up and things like that. When in reality, all Ginger's doing is trying to make their friendship closer, because through having Emily be in her life and have somebody who like genuinely cares about her and like wants to know how she really feels about things, she's realised that her friendship with Shannon isn't all that deep or meaningful, and that the two of them are just friends for like appearances' sake. Ginger doesn't want that kind of friend, guys. She wants like a genuine person in her life, because she spent all of this time getting bullied and having no one. It's hard for her to realise now that the one human connection that she has isn't a real, genuine connection. And luckily for her, these new people have come into her life in the form of Emily and Sam Taylor. Should we talk a bit more about Sam Taylor? Sam has been really patient with Ginger. Yeah, he understands that the girl's got issues. He wants to be with her and he wants it to be a public thing, because obviously nobody wants to feel like their significant other is like embarrassed of them. It's not a nice way to feel, right? But he knows that, you know, Ginger relies a lot on Shannon's opinion and thinks very highly of Shannon, and Shannon does not approve of Sam. She hasn't approved of Sam from day one. The reason for this being that Sam didn't immediately take an interest in her, but instead took an interest in Ginger, and Shannon's very jealous of that. She doesn't want Ginger to go anywhere near Sam because, you know, that would be this whole thing where Ginger's getting something that Shannon wants, and that can't happen. Did you get a little bit of insight into Shannon's world, where, like, obviously she's an only child and she gets a little bit spoiled, but then she gets into trouble because she has this mad birthday party, right? Her like kind of boyfriend from the year above, who she's been kind of flirtationing with throughout the course of the book, him and his friends end up bringing alcohol, and then the rest of the kids ransack her dad's drinking cupboard, and it's a whole mess. The police get called. Mr. Hunter, the teacher, turns up because Shannon invited him, and I think he thought it was going to be a bit more chill and like parental than it was. This whole mess, and she gets in a lot of trouble, and her dad yells at her that she's a waste of space, and like Ginger overhears this. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that like she gets spoken to like this on the regs, and it's for this reason that she had this like hard out shell of like not giving a shit, because that's kind of what you have to do when your parent says that kind of thing to you. You can't really argue back with them, especially not at 13 years old. You just don't have the capacity to do that. I do appreciate that we get a little bit of insight into Shannon, and like we can kind of see what makes her act this way, but it's not an excuse to treat Ginger like shit, which she really, really does. Ginger, because of her past, is definitely the kind of person who needs reassurance in relationships, whether that be like friendships or romantic relationships. So Sam's been really patient, and you know, he's tried to accommodate Ginger's issues, but the fact of the matter is that, you know, Sam's not being true to himself by hiding his feelings for Ginger in public. He doesn't want to do that. You know, he doesn't want to be sneaking around. He wants to tell the world that he's in love with this girl or whatever. Ginger invites Sam to this disaster party, but then when he turns up, Shannon's like, who invited you? And Ginger doesn't say anything. And this is kind of the last straw for Sam. And he says, like, I can't continue to, like, lie to myself and live in, like, this fake place. You're not willing to be public about us, then I'm not willing to continue the relationship. Sam chose being true to himself, even though it meant not being with this girl who he really liked. Kind of given Ginger a perspective on like self-respect. She's the one who rang Shannon's parents and got the party shut down, even though the police were already on the way because of the neighbours, so it's not her fault. And Shannon is really, really mad at Ginger about this, and they've had like a whole big fight. Ginger's kind of came to the very slow realization, much too late, that Shannon treats her like shit. You know that by the end of the book, Shannon's gonna get a little bit of comeuppance, maybe. Ginger and Emily are going to be besties, and Ginger and Sam are going to end up together, because of course they are, and if they don't, we'll all cry. Nice little third act piece, and I feel like we've had a lot of heavy topics in the Cathy Cassidy books recently. This is like a nice little light-hearted one that's a little more like emotionally involved. Directly Ginger that these things are happening to, like her friend not being nice to her, and she's the one who experienced the bullying. So it seems that like Kathy Cassidy's warming more to having like protagonists who have the nasty, not so nice things happen to them. She's like kind of edging into that now instead of it just happening around them, you know. Do a little bit more reading before I go to bed. So I'll probably get back to you at the end of the book soon. Finished Gingersnaps. I'm gonna go and have a bath because I'm just freezing and I can't be arsed and I've got neck pain and it hurts, okay? But lovely little book. Sorry it took me so long to read it. It's great. It's about being yourself. It's about being true to the person that you are on the inside and, you know, recognising the people that see that person in you and like that person instead of trying to cater to the people who want you to change and be the person that they want you to be. And I think that's great. Love the boy, Sam Taylor, best boy that Cathy Cassidy has written so far. High drama at the end of this one. Shannon has a birthday party and the police end up coming because there's a fight and stuff. The guy who was the photographer for the little school magazine loses his camera and Shannon finds that camera and crops one of the pictures that he's taken so that it looks like Mr. Hunter, the teacher, who they all begged to come, was like doing dodgy shit with some of the girls. And he ends up having to leave the school because like people hear about it and there's rumours going around and stuff. She's just really not like a nice person. Like she full on makes it so her parents find these pictures and he ends up getting reported to the head and stuff. Shannon didn't really get a comeuppance in the end apart from the fact that obviously Ginger took the opportunity to stand against her and to tell the truth about Mr. Hunter. And it didn't really help, but at least Ginger kind of entered the book with a group of friends who really liked her for who she was. You know, the girl Emily from the beginning, those two are close now, and she's got Sam. And they're all in a band together with some other guys who they've met through the magazine thing. Ginger's kind of got that friend group that she's never had before, you know, like true friends that she's always wanted. So yeah, it was really good and really nice. I can see why I like this one so much. Next one that I'm going to be reading is Angel Cake. I haven't got it now, it's upstairs. I'm going to grab it before I get in the bath, but I've only read it once and it was when it first came out. Really remember what it's about. I think it's about, I'm sure it's about like a Polish girl who's come to the UK. I'm going to go and read that now and I'll give you an update in a couple of hours. Okay, so it's been a couple of days and I've read a little bit of Angel Cake. Here it is, by the way. Ta-da! This is actually the one I've got signed. So I've actually got something to talk about at the minute. Look, this was the first ever book I ever got signed. Oh, Cathy Cassidy, she told me life is sweet. And she drew a little cupcake. The main character's called Anya. She's from Poland and her dad like moved over to the UK to get better money. That he's kind of settled down and got what he thinks is a better job. He's had the confidence to move his family over after like, I think she said it was like 2 years. Been away from his wife and children for 2 years and now he's moved them all over to Liverpool. The fact that this book is set in Liverpool is hilarious to me because Anya starts at a new school describing all the kids as savages and they're all like saying mean stuff to her. They've all obviously got Scouse accents. Like it's not written like that, but I know that and I think that's really funny. A typical British school and she's not kind of used to that. Much has really happened yet. She's kind of started to get in with a group of misfit friends. But she's had a bit of trouble because obviously even as much as she learned English before she came over, communicating with it and like hearing locals speak so fast and especially with the Scouse accent, which is really heavy, struggled. And so she ended up not really speaking at all. And so everyone's kind of just got into the habit of ignoring it now. And she's got past the point where she could make a good first impression, I guess. Hi. It has been such ages since I've sat and like read Angel Cake. And I've just forced myself to sit down and come to reading it. And Frankie's just a bit of an icon, isn't she? Frankie is the girl that Anya has become quite close to. There's her and this other guy called Kurt, who's like a bit of a nerd and he rescued the rat from the science lab. Stole, you know. Three of them are kind of entering into this like cute little like ragtag friendship type thing. And Anya's also in this romantic liaison with Dan, who's like the school bad boy, and he doesn't really acknowledge her in school, but then he turns up on the late night to like take her on picnics in the park in her pajamas and stuff like that. So she's not really sure what's going on with Dan, but we're talking about Frankie right now. A bit of a bigger girl. She's got a little bit of a self-confidence issue, and she's also a little bit alternative, which, you know, we love to see it. Kurt has a little bit of a crush on Frankie, I think, and so Frankie is here complaining about her weight and Kurt says, you're not fat, you're just cuddly, in a nice way. Frankie is not impressed by this and she starts like, she argues with him. She says, you know, I am fat, let's not sugarcoat it. And, you know, don't you be getting any ideas, Kurt. because you're not my type, all right? So Frankie knows what's going on straight up. She kind of gets out of the way, and Kurt like picks up the magazine that she'd been reading, which is full of like little emo scene kids sad boy bands. And he's like, what? So Frankie would like me more if I dress like this? Because she's like, have you ever thought of going goth? And he's like, no. She's like, emo, scene, new rave, punk, maybe? And Anya's in a monologue says, I don't even know what those things are, and I don't think Kurt does either. I'm not really a punk kind of person, he protests. About this magazine, Kurt says, look at these people, all that backcombed hair, those skinny trousers. Does Frankie really like all that? When Anya says, I think she does, he points to a poster of a wild-eyed singer with eyeliner and heavily tattooed arms and says, I will never understand girls. Like, a couple of years ago, it was like really in fashion to have a goth girlfriend. And that's kind of been flipped around now, and now it's in fashion to have a goth boyfriend. I think because, like, the Kardashian sisters were all dating those, like, Fleabag type of guys, and then Megan Fox is with that, like, MGK who thinks he's the king of scene all of a sudden. So it's now become, like, a thing to have this dirtbag boyfriend. But back in these days, it was, like, it was weird that Frankie was into this type of guy. Like, we were all still very much into the footballer. In fact, Anya's into the footballer, really. Like, as much as he's the troublemaker, that's kind of like, that's what the jock was like in British high schools. Like, they were sporty and stuff, but they weren't academic, and, you know, they'd kind of be more the class clown type and use humour to distract from the fact that they weren't the smartest, you know? Not caring about school and caring about your social cred as far as making people laugh is cool. Therefore, those boys became popular, right? You know, it's just a bit of me. We love a goth boy in this house. Hi. Okay, so unsure what the general quality of this video is going to be like now. Basically, I broke my phone. If you want to know how I broke it, I dropped it while I was on my bike. Man, I've been looking buff as fuck in this fucking fit. I've got 3 hoodies on right now. A gift from Draco's father. Oh, God, said shut up. I broke my phone, I dropped it off my bike and then ran over it with said bike. As a result, the screen broke, which wasn't very good. I have fixed the screen, however the sensitivity is fucked. I don't know how much longer it is going to be functional. It's focusing on a spot up here right now, which is a little bit disturbing for me, but I know it's the sensitivity and not a ghost, or at least I hope. I tried to transfer myself the clips for Gingersnaps and Angel Cake. However, apparently they're too long or the files are too big or something like that. So I'm going to try to speedrun Angel Cake tonight before I go to bed. We've still got about half the book to go, but you know, I've had a bath. I only woke up at like 3 p.m. I've got the whole night, and hopefully the phone doesn't break before then. I just thought I'd let you know what's going on. We are on a mission tonight, my friends, so let's see what's going down. It's 3:20. Let's talk about the boy. So the boy in this one's Dan Carney. I have explained that he's a little bit of a bad boy. He ignores Anya in school, and she thinks it's because he's embarrassed of her, you know, because he's one of the cool kids. But we find out it's because, you know, Dan's having some trouble at home, and this is making him get in trouble at school. And he just doesn't really think he can be a good boyfriend to anyone right now. So his decision not to be with Anya is a selfless one. He does like her, and he can't help but express this, and he does it in really sweet ways. Like, her and her little sister's boots get stolen because they stupidly leave them on the porch step for St. Nicholas or whoever the fuck. He like uses his own money to go and buy her and her sister some new shoes and fill them up with sweets and stuff. And it's not just because he fancies Anya, it's because like he's got his own little siblings and she's got her little sibling, and you know, he just wants them to have a good Christmas, not have to deal with like the problems of the grown-ups, because Anya's parents' business is struggling, and you know, Dan's having his own issues. It's nice that Dan's not just a bad boy who can't be with her because he's a bad boy and it wouldn't look good. Like, he does have his own noble reasons for not being with her. And you know, maybe it reminded some of us that we've got to stop trying to put labels on things so much and just enjoy the time that we have with people. And that's all I'm going to say. So again, it is just about to be 4 a.m. and I have finished Angel Cake. It was okay. I remember I didn't really love it when I was a kid. I can see why. I was really in it for the romance back then, and the romance in this is sadly lacking. There's not a lot of it. And then at the end, Anya sees Dan like kissing the mean girl. And it's like, it's blatantly obvious that this mean girl is just going to have kissed him and Anya's going to have looked at the wrong time. Because there's been no indication whatsoever throughout the rest of the book that he even likes this girl. So even the misdirect and the miscommunication just didn't feel earned to me. And the thing with these Cathy Cassidy books, when you compare them to Jacqueline Wilson, is just that they feel a little bit more magical. Like everything kind of gets nicely wrapped up at the end. This one, Anya's parents are saying that they're gonna have to move back to Poland because the business is failing and stuff, and then magically on Christmas, this guy sees this model that her dad made and hires him for this new fancy job making rocking horses, and her mum gets a job in Dan's mum's cafe. Which, considering Anya and Dan get together at the end, is like going to be kind of awkward when they, you know, break up. Especially considering Anya's family then move in over the top of the shop where Dan and his family, you know, live and work. But that's just me being like, these characters don't continue to exist past the end of the story, so that's never going to happen, essentially. That's just me being really pessimistic for no particular reason. Oh my god, it's so smoky in here. It smells so nice though. Like the immigration stuff could have been gone into a bit more with like the other kids being like mean about it and us seeing how that affected Anya, but it was kind of like sidelined completely and just kind of chalked Anya's parents' struggles up to like the recession and stuff like that. Which is, you know, it's something that could have happened to any family. It didn't have to be a family that came over from Poland. So I'm gonna go and edit this video really quickly before my phone decides to commit die. Enjoyed this. Ta-ra.